Hi, I'm Chad Huebener.
And I'm Sara Huebener with Edina Realty, and today we are going to be talking about the final walkthrough. If you're wondering what a final walkthrough is, the purchase agreement specifies that the buyer has a right to do a final walkthrough prior to closing to make sure that the seller has left the property in substantially the same condition as it was in at the time the buyer wrote the offer. Now, for the purposes of new construction, there are new construction walkthroughs. That's a little bit of a different animal, so for today's purposes, we will just focus on an existing home and the final walkthrough in a traditional sense.
So when we're doing the final walkthrough, typically it's done either the morning of closing, sometimes it's done the day before or a couple days before, depending on the home and the
Availability of the
availability.
point,
But we walk through the home. We are turning on faucets, we're flushing toilets, we're checking the walls, making sure there's no major dings in the wall from the move out, looking at the flooring, making sure it's in similar condition. I often tell people too, before we do the walkthrough, or they're asking if we should do a final walkthrough, want to make sure that there's not a foot of water in the basement right before closing, because if you don't do the walkthrough, then we have some issues. But that's primarily what we're looking for in the final walkthrough. We do an outdoor walk around too, making sure everything is in a similar condition there as well.
One of the other things that we do during the final walkthrough is ensure that any personal property that was requested or agreed to in the purchase agreement is at the property at the time of the walkthrough. So we are seeing some interesting things happen in the current market environment, especially in cases where the buyer, as a part of their purchase agreement, has elected not to do an inspection. And it's important to distinguish that the property has to be in the same condition, but that the final walkthrough is not last minute inspection and a time to negotiate stuff and items that the buyer is now unhappy with. But it is important to make sure that the property is in substantially the same condition. Couple different little interesting tidbits, things we've seen over the years, some colorful situations that we've seen during final walkthroughs. We've seen cases where during the final walkthrough, the buyer has noticed that the seller has removed plumbing fixtures that were an upgraded, beautiful fixture. In the case I'm thinking of in particular, they removed the bathroom fixtures on the tub in the shower and replaced it with a very cheap entry-level, low-grade replacement. We've also seen cases where the sellers have left an incredible amount of trash and debris at the property, including tires and garbage bags and junk in the shed and things like that. So those are important examples of why it's important to do a final walkthrough, because once the property closes, the buyer has accepted the property in the condition it's in.
And another fun one in the past is a client had purchased a rental property, and we went in for the final walkthrough the morning of the closing, and the renter was still there sleeping, not moved out. So another big one to do a final walkthrough.
Very important.
Yeah.
So all these, it helps to identify unforeseen issues that could occur before the buyer goes to sign the papers at the closing table. Hopefully this video was helpful. If we can answer any other questions for you, or if you have any video topics that you would like us to cover, feel free to let us know. Thanks for watching and have a great day.